So let's categorize this with the dog whistle turning into a bullhorn. Wisconsin Senator Ron Johnson is under fire today because of statements that he made on conservative radio that is explicitly racist. And I normally let you decide for yourself, but no, take a listen to this and you will see clearly how racist it really was when he made the comparison between the protesters that protest on behalf of Black lives versus the insurrectionists who carried out their treasonous attack on January 6th.
I'm also criticized because I've made the comment that on January 6th, I never felt threatened, because I didn't. And mainly because I knew that even though those thousands of people there were marching to the Capitol were trying to pressure people like me to vote the way they wanted me to vote, I knew those are people that love this country, that truly respect law enforcement, would never do anything to break a law. And so I wasn't concerned. Now, had the tables been turned, and Joe, this got me in trouble. Had the tables been turned and President Trump won the election, and those were tens of thousands of Black Lives Matter and Antifa protesters, I might have been a little concerned.
So he would have been concerned. He wasn't worried because the people who stormed the Capitol, broke into offices, assaulted Capitol police officers, and broke a myriad of laws, they're law-abiding citizens. I think what he really wanted to say was that, well, no, those are his friends. Those are people who he identifies with because he was comfortable with them versus people who would have been protesting on behalf of Black lives. Now, he had a rebuttal, and I want to share a quote from theguardian.com, and this is what he said on Monday on the Dan O'Donnell show. He said that because many of the Black Lives Matter protesters were white, his comments were not racist. He went on to say, remember those leftist activists, those protesters, that some of them turned into riots. A lot of them are white. So there's no racism involved in this at all. Now, the irony and the sick, twisted, sad irony is that this rebuttal came on the same day that two of Johnson's beloved protesters were charged with the assault of Capitol Police Officer Brian Sicknick, who died the next day. Quote, Julian Elie Cotter and George Pierre Tanios are charged with 3 counts of assault on a federal officer with a dangerous weapon, conspiracy to injure an officer, civil disorder, obstructing or impeding any official proceeding, physical violence on restricted grounds while carrying dangerous weapons and resulting in significant bodily injury, violent entry and disorderly conduct, acts of physical violence on Capitol grounds, and aiding and abetting. So while Ron Johnson felt comfortable with these people because he said that they were obeying laws, they literally broke a litany of laws and attacked police officers, which led to the death of one Capitol police officer. So the irony and the sad part of it, I keep saying irony, but the sad part about it is in their minds, Cenk, this isn't racist, couldn't possibly be racist, because never mind the fact that he identifies with one group because of their ideology, but he attacks another group because of what we're standing for, which is fighting on behalf of Black lives. But he's not a racist.
Yeah. Well, racists oftentimes, I think, genuinely can't see their bias, because it's like when you ask fish, how's the water? The fish's answer is what water? And he says, no, these good white folk, right wingers, they'd never break the law. You just read like what, half a dozen laws that just those 2 guys broke?
Yeah.
And we all saw with our own eyes them breaking into the Capitol, them having nooses, them having the bear mace, the zip ties, the gallows. They're rifling through private materials of the senators and the Congress people. But he genuinely thinks, no, that's okay. That's just white people demanding to have power over non-white people. To him, that's Tuesday. Ron Johnson thinks, what water, right? And so here, let's show these a quick video of a chant of these non-violent protesters that Ron Johnson is referring to. Yeah, I think hundreds of people normally get together and talk about executing someone, murdering them with their bare hands by stringing them up because they're not violent. Well, but Ron Johnson sees that and goes, yeah, but I'm here for it. So for them, doing violence to maintain their political power is their standard operating procedure. I mean, but I'm being quite literal about it. Remember, the lynchings weren't just for a picnic, although they literally did have picnics around the lynchings. You got to know the real history of America. It was to use violence as a political weapon so that black people couldn't participate in democracy, couldn't vote, and wouldn't have any power. And so slavery was violence for a political reason. Lynchings, Jim Crow, you name it, all violence purposely done for a political purpose. So honestly, white right-wingers in this country have been terrorists for a long, long time. So when a terrorist like Ron Johnson says, I don't see any terrorists here, as they're chanting about executing people, he probably genuinely doesn't see it. But when he sees black people, 93% of those protests were perfectly peaceful. He looks at them and goes, black people by definition are dangerous. I don't know what you mean by racism. I don't know, because he genuinely thinks black people are violent and all the other horrible stereotypes, and thinks I'm just having the courage to speak the truth. No, you're having the courage to speak your truth, which is racism. So to just look, all I want is for the Ron Johnsons of the world to not cry. It's not that much to ask for. Like so constantly like, I can't believe you called me racist because I thought all black people were violent. And the people that came to execute us and people around us and beat the living crap out of cops. We could all see with our own eyes. Brett, run the video of the cops being assaulted in these Capitol riots, okay? So. So they're attacking the cops, they're dragging them through the streets, etc. One of the cops died, and Ron Johnson says, what violence? All I see is white people. Exactly, Ron, exactly.
Yeah, Cenk, if I grew up hood adjacent, if I had to walk through the hood, I wouldn't feel uncomfortable at all. If Black Lives Matter marched down my street, I wouldn't feel uncomfortable at all. If I were to go to a HBCU football game and in the marching band, I would not feel uncomfortable at all because those are my people. That's where I grew up. That's what I've been around. And Ron Johnson is saying his people are the people who try to overthrow this government. His people are the people who killed a Capitol Police officer. His people are the people who caused chaos and mayhem and violated this nation. His people are the people who try to overthrow this nation on January 6th. So that's why he feels comfortable. He feels as comfortable around those terrorist insurrectionists as I feel comfortable, going to a football game. That's it.
Yeah, but last thing, I just can't. I can never get over how they say it with a straight face. People who love this country, they literally attacked the Capitol, carrying Confederate flags. Okay, truly respect law enforcement. They kicked the living crap out of law enforcement and ran them over and killed some of them on their way in, and would never do anything to break the law. By definition, breaking into the Capitol in a violent way was breaking the law. But he's basically. They can't help themselves. People like Ron Johnson believe in political terrorism as long as white right-wingers are doing it. They just believe it in their bones. And the minute they see a black person, they're like, ah! Right. So, and to them, oh, black people get beat up by cops all the time. They're like, where's the problem?
Right.
So they don't see a problem to address anyway. Whereas Donald Trump lost and we no longer have political power because democracy worked. Well, that's a real problem because we don't care about democracy. We just care about power. And those are my brothers trying to get that power back to white people where it belongs. So let's just be super clear. Ron Johnson is definitely a bona fide racist. And by the way, anyone who sees this and votes for Ron Johnson is also definitely racist.
Thanks for watching The Young Turks, really appreciate it. Another way to show support is through YouTube memberships. You'll get to interact with us more. There's live chat emojis, badges. You've got emojis of me, Anna, John, JR. So those are super fun. But you also get playback of our exclusive member-only shows and specials right after they air. So all of that, all you gotta do is click that join button right underneath the video. Thank you.